Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Chineze, aka chinezeslife. Thanks so much for taking the time out to watch this video. So a video like this in general is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, but I haven't necessarily felt comfortable with sharing not only my story, but just also just speaking on the topic in general, just because it is a very touchy subject. It's something that is inevitable and something that, we're all gonna have to face one day in some way or capacity. Something that many of you have felt before, but it's also something that I find that a lot of people don't experience, which kind of makes it harder for people who do experience to kind of talk about it, because it kind of feels like you're so alone in things. But just know that you're not. There's a lot of things that people don't talk about that are happening. A lot of people who do experience loss that don't know where to turn to, or just don't know who to talk to about it, so they kind of keep it in and keep it to themselves. But something that there was definitely a shift, I would say, just in the world in general on Sunday, January 26th, which most of you know was the day that Kobe Bryant tragically passed away. And what's interesting about just the whole passing and like the unexpected loss is that that's how life can hit you sometimes. Like sometimes things happen that come out of nowhere that you literally never expected. I don't think that anyone expected for someone like Kobe Bryant, especially at such a young age, someone who had just recently retired, that was just getting into his next stage of life, would go in such a tragic way. I mean, it's not something that you think about for yourself or for anyone for that matter, but I feel like a lot of people who have never experienced loss, or even those who have, like the passing of Kobe Bryant definitely just brought about such a change. I've never experienced in my lifetime something like that. I know that there have been like celebrity passings, such as, let's say, Whitney Houston or Michael Jackson, but I know for people who are my age, that may have been something that their parents have felt more. Obviously, that was the music that their parents grew up with, and these are also people who are around the same age as their parents, if not a little bit older. So for people in my generation, especially the men of my generation, I know that the loss of Kobe was a lot to take in, because this is someone who not only was an amazing, dynamic basketball player, but just an all-around person who was just so committed to bettering the world and using his impact to further and go beyond basketball, to live beyond just taking his talents everywhere, whether that was through coaching and mentoring, or even just by visiting like Make-A-Wish kids, different things like that. Of course, we've all seen what an amazing father he was to his girls, and then the whole like girl dad thing, because a lot of the times some men can be ashamed to have only daughters, and like just hearing him speak on his daughters and the legacy that they're carrying on through him, and even when asked like you don't have any sons, like who's gonna carry on your legacy? And he was just so proud to speak on his daughter Gianna, who also tragically passed. It was definitely just like chilling and inspiring at the same time to hear just how much he loved his family and how much he was willing to do for them. And something that's interesting too is that, again, like I said, I grew up watching basketball. I was a Cavs fan, which also my older brother was, so that was my influence there. And obviously during the time where I was growing up, LeBron was on the Cavs, and Lakers versus Cavs, it was always like, I was like, come on, like every time the Lakers would beat the Cavs, I'm like, come on, Kobe, like can you let us win one time? So that just obviously showed like how competitive he was, that he's going against someone as great as LeBron and still coming up, showing and showing out. I was never necessarily like, let's say, a Lakers fan, but I was definitely always a fan of Kobe, and just like seeing his like drive, his work ethic, everything like that. So that brings me to the topic of grief. I feel as though his passing has definitely, of course, impacted me. And especially has just shown me like the whole like Mamba mentality thing, like being able to go as hard in whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you're passionate about. And just a reminder, as every loss is, that another day is never guaranteed. We know that he was on the way to his daughter's basketball game, which he was also the coach of. He was on the helicopter with his daughter's teammates as well. So it's just like, it was a regular Sunday morning to them, And I don't think I'll ever forget where I was. Like I was just downstairs preparing to go to an event. I was on FaceTime with my friend, and she's just like, Kobe Bryant, like she's like, Kobe Bryant died or something like that. And I'm just like, wait, what are you talking about? Like everyone's starting to write in our group chat, and it's just like, what? Like again, like we were all just living our regular lives. And it's just like, it felt like in that moment, like time just froze, like my heart just dropped, which took me back to a feeling that I also felt when my own father unexpectedly passed when I was 14 years old. And actually this past few days, the 21st of February 2011 was when he had passed. And usually February is definitely a month of, I wouldn't necessarily say sadness, but it's definitely a month where I tend to not be my best self, you know, because I'm just always relating the month of February to the passing of my father unexpectedly, especially. And at 14 years old, you know, that's when you're first becoming a teenager. You know, you kind of start to distance yourself from your parents in a sense. Like you kind of want to have that independence and kind of like be your own person and like be treated like an adult or whatever the case may be. But with my dad, like he was like my best friend, like despite all of that like teenage nonsense phase or whatever, my dad was definitely my best friend like when I was growing up. Like he's even who I got my love of like cameras and videography and all of that from. He was someone who would always be recording all the family gatherings, different things like that, taking pictures of all of us, documenting everything, which kind of inspired me to be able to, you know, document everyone else, because he was always the one behind the camera. So sometimes I would pick up the family camera and be like, oh, you know, you're never in the videos, let me get you too. And what's interesting about his passing was that, again, like as I said, we as a family always watched basketball. Even my mom, who didn't really understand basketball, and the same with my sister, we would all gather around and just watch games. It was just like a family bonding activity. And kind of similar to Kobe, who passed on a Sunday. A Sunday was the last day that we all spent together as a family, and it was watching the All-Star game. Like I'll never forget that day. It's just, it replays so vividly in my mind, you know, just in this month of February. And it's basically, it's just all kind of surreal. My father passed in his sleep when he was 44 years old. Kobe passed obviously when he was 41 years old. So to a lot of people, it can seem as though passing at such a, what we consider a young age, very tragic. And yes, it is tragic. However, just like how Kobe had done so much in such a short span of time, I would say that, you know, my father was able to do the same. He came from Nigeria in 1990 and was able to start up his own law firm alongside my mother, and was just able to be an amazing preacher, teacher of the Word of God. He was so passionate about just his walk with Christ and spreading that to others. Also, of course, being an amazing father, being an amazing husband, an amazing brother. He was always that person that people were calling to, leaning on. And it's just like, you think about how amazing someone was to you, and then you see that the impact that they had on so many others and that they had on the world, and it's just like, wow, like I thought you were over here just being like, I just knew you as like dad, you know, but here you were just being amazing in like so many different ways. And I think that's kind of what we can learn from Kobe as well, because I personally didn't know how amazing of a father he was until his passing, when I literally could not sleep the night that he passed. So I was just up watching like all the tributes and like seeing how many people, whether they were fellow NBA players or just random people who he happened to impact along this journey of life. And just like each and every story and more that I heard of Kobe, it was just like, wow, like he literally lived every day like it was his last. Like he just wanted to help so many people. And I think that's just important for all of us to remember, is that like, again, you never know when your last day will be. And unfortunately, you never know if you're going to, you know, pass from something that's long and written out, like sickness, or if it'll be tragically, because tragic things can happen all the times and we don't know why. We are told not to, you know, question God, and it's just like some things are just meant to happen a certain way. So again, like the only thing that you can do is to live your life in the fullest extent, and, you know, always continue to go hard, because you really never do know how many days that you have left. Another important thing just on this topic is that, you know, of course, people, especially let's say within a week of losing someone close to you, of course people are going to be there to support you, be present, you know, but that support goes away. And not that it goes away in a sense, it's just more so like everyone being in such close proximity and just always constantly checking up on you, that's going to dwindle out over time. And you need to find a way that you're able to deal with this grief on your own, you know, because the thing is that after tragic loss, after loss in general, is that life continues to move with or without you. And it's easy to kind of get lost, like literally get lost in the sauce and like just lose yourself. And for me personally, when I lost my father, that was like my first like big loss. At that time, both of my grandparents on my father's side were still alive. My grandma's still alive today. So, you know, it's like I was too young when my mom's father also died when she was younger. And her mother passed when I was like a baby. So, you know, I don't remember that. So it was kind of like coming to terms with like, wow, like my grandparents are still alive and, you know, like my father like is gone. So like, it was kind of hard to process everything. And I would say that I definitely did kind of lose a part of me when I lost my father. And especially at such a young age like that, you're just thinking of like, wow, like what's the future gonna be like? Because of course, like there's things like small things that you're like wondering like, wow, like so who's gonna walk me down at my wedding? Or like you're not gonna be there for my high school graduation, you know, or you're not gonna be there for my college graduation. And I think being able to process and to come to terms with everything, and again, having an outlet, so whether that's, you know, finding a new hobby to just kind of get your emotions out, or to just actually just sit and like process everything that you're feeling, I think that's important versus, you know, like bottling every emotion up, because that is something that I did that I definitely, looking back, do regret not like doing certain things, because I felt like I kind of became desensitized, became numb to pain, that I kind of just, again, I just kind of lost myself for a while. And it took me a while to regain my confidence, to regain my strength, to kind of be myself again. And it's hard. I'm not saying that you should rush the process at all, but definitely just know that, you know, you can and you will get better, you know, but I think that it all just takes time. And definitely having a plan of action, having people that you can talk to, whether that's your friends or whether that's getting into therapy, or whether it's, you know, remembering this person, whether that's, you know, like writing letters to them or just watching over old videos you may have with them, looking over old pictures, and always, of course, reflecting on the memories that you've shared and like the lessons that were taught to you from this person. So that's something that is definitely something that I do practice, especially with my father. He left behind, again, all those family videos I'm so thankful for now more than ever. And I'm actually currently working on like converting them. I had to go buy an old camera and everything, but I'm super excited to be doing so, because it's just like, you know, especially in this digital age, so much can be lost. So it's nice to be able to kind of have that and to save that for my family and to share with them, so that we can continue to, you know, like live on in his legacy and, you know, just show the world and let the world remember them, and kind of just to show the world how remarkable this person was and how much that they meant to you. So another loss that I don't believe that I've spoken about too much in detail on this platform is the loss of my mother as well. So yes, both my mother and my father have passed away. I'm 23 years old, for those of you who don't know. So I definitely am classified as an orphan, and it's something that, you know, I've become used to it now, but it definitely is hard being without both of my parents at this age. You know, I would say the usual age that, you know, people lose their one or both of their parents is usually in their mid to late 30s. You know, if people are lucky, not until they're like 40s or 50s. I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely been a healing and learning and just, you kind of have to learn how to be self-sustainable in a sense, because of course there's always going to be family and friends to rely on. But again, it's kind of that thing of not having that person who's supposed to be your guidance, your protector, all of that with you. Especially as someone, as a young adult, this is the key stage where, like let's say most people don't move out until a certain age, or most people have their parents like helping with certain things, or like you can go ask them questions like, what did you do when you were this age? So that's definitely something that, obviously it's hard not to have, but I feel like I'm able to manage through relying on family, through relying on friends, through, just doing that digging deeper within and using what they did show me, and what tools that they did give me, and the things that they did leave behind, kind of as motivation, kind of as guidance to be able to succeed in life. And just knowing that they would of course want the best for me, and having that knowing that they're in a better place definitely gives me a sense of peace. But of course it can be hard, especially during times like, let's say, my birthday, or just celebrations, whether that's graduations or like future weddings, or just different things like that. I'm a very emotional person, and of course, like with grief, again, like with time comes healing. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be sad. That doesn't mean that you're not going to cry. That just means that, you'll feel better in a sense. But of course, that loss will always be there. I can particularly remember so many times where a song, or just seeing something, or even just like seeing families together, or being present with families that are all complete, in a sense, it just kind of definitely makes me sad and can like trigger my sadness. Or some days I'll just randomly be thinking of either of them or both of them, and I'll just be like, wow, like I can't believe that they're not here anymore. So it is hard, but I feel like being able to speak on it, especially for me, is definitely a big step towards the right direction. They deserve to be spoken on, they deserve to be memorialized and to be remembered for all of the great things that they accomplished. So while it is still hard, especially again, like the month of February is when I had lost my father in 2011, and June of 2017, just a few weeks after my 21st birthday, was when I lost my mother. So, it's kind of like February, and I'm someone who's like huge on holidays, and it's just kind of interesting how I lost my father during the month of February, and of course that's Valentine's Day, so something that you're supposed to look forward to and just be like super happy about. A lot of the times I find myself very like sad during the month of February, and of course June being my birthday, that's something that you're supposed to be very happy during your birthday month. And especially if you know me, or you know that I'm someone who's very extra when it comes to their birthdays. But the past few years, I just haven't really been in the celebrating mood. Mainly because I'm still, like mourning, like the month of June is no longer just my birthday month, That's the month where I remember and reflect on the life of my mother and like all the things that she did. And I would say that this February has definitely been different, in the sense that like I'm more so at peace. For the first time in 9 years, I can like actually speak on this loss that I faced, and I can actually see how I'm stronger now. And of course that took time, but I'm so glad that I'm able to share my story, because I'm not sure who it may impact, or if there's anyone out there who has a similar story to mine that that will find themselves encouraged or inspired by what I'm saying. So I feel like that's the only thing that I can hope for in sharing my story, is that you're able to move forward and to be stronger and to do more and to have a greater impact on just the world and your loved ones and those around you. Just again, because loss can come at any time. We're never prepared for it. Even if you think you're prepared for it, we never know. It's just God's timing. Once he once he's ready to call his servants home, he's ready to call them home, and you can't question that. We just know that, you know, everything is written in the book of life. What has a beginning must end. Even all of us will one day be gone. So I just want to end this with, of course, just my condolences to anyone who's ever lost someone, and especially in this wake of the loss of superstar Kobe Bryant. Just, you know, it's definitely shown people just how fragile things can be, and I just hope that, if anything, of course we're all still hurting, but I just hope that if anything, his life and his death just shows us, you know, to use every day to the fullest, to be kind to one another, to teach one another, and to learn from one another. And, you know, that's really what we're on this earth for. And that's even something that I would say in my passion as a videographer. Like, I just want to help people, and that's the best way that I know how to do so. I just hope that I'm able to make an impact, even with my YouTube channel, of course. As I told you guys, you know, just having this more impactful, more meaningful content, it's something that's important to me. So I hope that, you know, if you feel so inclined to, you're able to just share this video to someone who may need to hear this, you know? So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today, and for just allowing me to share my story. And just know that my channel in general, and just me, like, I'm always a safe space. If there's ever anything that any of you feel comfortable, you know, sharing with me, definitely hit me up, send me an email, whatever the case may be. If you would ever want to talk about something, you know, or of course, I'm just someone who's on YouTube if you don't know me in real life. But if you do have people in your life that you're able to lean on during these hard times, or if you're interested in going to therapy, those are things that I definitely recommend, just having a way to have an outlet. And again, you know, just getting help in some way, shape, or form, or just picking up on something that you're able to de-stress and to kind of process your feelings through. I definitely recommend that. So as always, if you're not subscribed, make sure to pause the video and to, you know, subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000. And make sure to like or comment whatever it is that you feel, you know, compelled to comment. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I genuinely appreciate it, and I hope that you took something away from this video. So yeah, bye guys.